Hello, this is Karen calling in from San Antonio, Texas. I've listened to Wisdom for the Heart broadcasts for many years on my morning commute to work. I have a question. Dr. Davy often speaks about biographies that he has read that inspired him. I would like to read some of these also, but I have a hard time finding really good biographies. Is there a way that you can give us a list of some of the best that you have read?
Well, Karen, you are absolutely right that Stephen does love biographies. Stephen, I think you pretty much always have one going.
Yeah.
And so what are some of your favorites?
Well, before I answer it, let me thank you for being a reader. I want to encourage all of you parents to develop that palate, that appetite, as it were, in your children. I remember as a child, television, our television back then when we got one, I was 12 years old, it was a black and white, and we had to turn the channel with a pair of pliers. Some of you are old enough to remember how that worked. Scott, you probably
yeah,
are
I do.
too. And that antenna it was always fuzzy. But we had to read the same amount of time that we wanted to watch television. Well, that kept us watching TV, for about 30 minutes a day.
That's a good rule.
But it was. It really was. And we developed that with our own children, that they had to read the same amount of time they wanted to play a video game. So for you parents today, I would recommend the same thing. They need to read the same amount of time they're going to play on their smartphone or whatever it is. And though they don't like it necessarily, it will capture their heart and imagination, and they'll begin to love to read. And that's certainly carried through. I tell our pastors, all of my students at Shepherd Seminary, that they need to read widely and constantly read, and they always need to keep a biography going. This will give them a source of illustrations. It will encourage them because people go through the same things we've gone through. Missionaries, statesmen, leaders out there in the world go through the same things. It's just times change, cultures change, but problems don't.
Stephen, am I right in remembering that you loved it so much that you even majored in history in college? Is that true?
That's true. I did and wanted to be a history teacher, and God in His gracious providence has allowed me to become a teacher of the greatest history book on the planet, which is the Bible. But to Karen's question, I'll give you a list, and Scott, we'll have our receptionist. She'll keep this list if people want to call them. We just sort of rattled off some of the top 4, 5, 6. But William Carey would be a top biography by Pierce Carey. That was a fantastic, it's about a 300-page biography. George Whitefield, a leader in early American church history, well used by the Lord, by Arnold Dallimore, is fantastic. Again, that book is about 600 pages. By the way, these aren't little biographies you can skim through. So the ones I like are the ones that really get into the weeds. And you can read the footnotes and read their letters and read correspondence and that sort of thing. And in fact, Hudson Taylor's biography by Dr. Howard Taylor is 2 volumes. You might want to start out by reading Hudson Taylor's Spiritual Secret, which is a little bitty paperback. And if that whets your appetite, go to the 2-volume hardback Hudson Taylor biography by Dr. Howard Taylor. It's just really fantastic. I also read secular biographies. They provide a lot of illustrations as well. And Winston Churchill's 3-volume biography by Manchester called The Last Lion is really, really fascinating. Titan, Titan, by Chernow. The biography of John D. Rockefeller is quite eye-opening. Douglas MacArthur, I think the name of that biography is American Caesar by Manchester. Kind of a fascinating insight into World War II as well. And I've always appreciated reading and have read several biographies on Abraham Lincoln. And a couple of them that I think have been most fascinating. One is called Lincoln the Unknown, and that's by Dale Carnegie, and that was a fascinating volume. And also Lincoln's Battle with God by Stephen Manfield. Lincoln was, I suppose you could call him an agnostic. I think he believed in the existence of God and really struggled with the gospel, which it seems he came to believe. In fact, his last conversation with his wife before being assassinated was telling her that we need to go to Israel and follow in the steps of the Savior. And then he would be killed that night. So those are some of the top of my list, Karen, really the top of, as I'm sitting here in the studio, they're on the tip of my tongue. There may be more, but that might be a great start.